Hi, my name is Erin, and I am a part of EduCoaching Partner. And we are here today as a part of Navigating AI Together, sponsored by EduMatch. I'm really excited to be a part of this, and thank you so much for watching this recording. So what we are going to talk about specifically in this recording is making a splash using AI as a new teacher. So as a new teacher, there's so much that you are asked to and expected to do that AI can feel exciting, overwhelming, overstimulating, thrilling, all of the above at the same time. So let's go ahead and dive in and see if what we can do is when you leave, when you finish watching this recording, you have a plan as to what you want to do if you didn't already have a plan or if you didn't already have some ideas. So we're going to be talking about three things first. We're going to be talking about your why. Why are you using AI and why are you using a specific AI tool? We're going to talk about all of your choices. Well, we are not going to talk about all of your choices, but we're going to talk about why are you making the choices that you make in regards to AI. And then we're also going to talk about how deep are you going to go into these particular tools, okay? Because you have a limited amount of time, so we don't want all of that extra time to be spent learning about AI. Some of it, yes, all of it, no. So we're going to talk today about Magic School AI. We're going to talk about quizzes. We're going to talk about three, but on the agenda here, I've got Claude, but we're actually going to talk about Claude, ChatGPT, and Google's Gemini. So just so you know. And then we're going to talk about MirrorTalk.ai. And I'm going to tell you what each of those is for. And each of them, in my opinion, in my uses, has a different focus, which is why I kind of addressed each one. And then it all goes back to your why, and then why did you make that choice? So let's go ahead and talk about how do you feel about using AI? Like at this point in the year, and we're actually not going to talk about this because I'm a recording. You are going to reflect on this. I want you to think about how do you feel about using AI? I want you to pause this video and on like a sticky note or even just a scratch piece of paper, whatever, on your phone, how do you feel about using AI? Pause. If you haven't paused, pause, do it. Okay. I can keep talking because this is a recording and you have paused me, and that's great. So I can tell you how I'm not a new teacher, and how do I feel about using AI is overwhelmed. There was so much so fast that I did not barely feel like I could get my feet wet before there was this and that and another thing. And they were all for different reasons and different purposes. And I never felt like I never felt really comfortable and really got a chance to explore ChatGPT. Like I know that there were other AI tools out earlier, you know, there's Grammarly and there's this and there's that, and there's all these little like AI tools. But the big, like all of a sudden, boom, was ChatGPT. And I never felt like I had it mastered before everything else came rushing at me. And so I felt very overwhelmed, not super confident. And now I feel like I'm playing catch up, but that's okay because now I feel confident. And so I'm comfortable catching up. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that you don't feel like you're playing catch up so much as feeling comfortable and confident where you are in your AI journey, in your AI swimming pool, because we're making a splash. So let's talk about your why. Why are you using AI? And then specifically, why are you using an AI tool? Why are you using the AI tool that you chose? Okay, want to think about when you choose any resource, any ed tech tool, any notebook, worksheet, hands-on game, anything that you use to supplement and to support student learning, there needs to be a reason why you did that. You're not just going to pick up a notebook and say, oh, this is a really pretty notebook. Here, student, go ahead and use this. Why? What is your goal in giving them that particular notebook. Same concept with ed tech, specifically AI. Are you using it for your own purpose, like your own productivity? That's great. Are you using it to improve student learning, to improve your own instruction and therefore improve student learning? Are you using it for some sort of a student engagement tool? Are you using it for team building, for community building, to just get the kids engaged and having fun learning, regardless of what they're learning? Is the idea to be having fun with whatever it is they're doing. Any of those, there is no wrong answer, except, I don't know, I liked it. It's not going to fit. That puzzle piece won't fit quite right if you pick your tool and then sort of build around it. It will always feel kind of awkward. But if you take your instruction, you take your goal for the students or for yourself, and you say, this tool would really support that, that's when things are going to kind of fall into place, and it's going to be a whole lot easier. Now, let's talk about those choices. You have a ridiculous number of choices, and do not think that you have to explore all of them. I am going to give you 4 choices today, and then I'm also going to link in the slide deck an article by Matt Miller where he goes over 40 choices. I'm not going into 40 choices. I'm overwhelmed by that idea. But the great thing about Matt Miller is he did the work for you. He wrote, he explored, he wrote the summaries. So now you can sort of say, this is what I want to do. And pull up the article, hit Control F and type what you want: engagement, standards, product, whatever, and have the find that in his article. So you don't even have to read the whole thing. It's a phenomenal article. It's a blog. It's a phenomenal blog post. But you have limited minutes in your day, and diving into all of the AI, and sometimes you need to dive into the AI versus read the blog post. So you kind of decide what you need, but I'm just saying, use some of those tools. So go back to your why, because that's going to help you drive which tool or tools you select. I'm never going to say only one, but I am going to say just a couple, 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most, at the same time, like trying to juggle at the same time. All right. Think of a conference. You're not going to go to a conference and try to do everything. Same idea. Think of all of the AI tools. You're not going to try to do everything. Don't try to choose all of them yet. You'll build up to that point. You'll build up to the Matt Miller point. Life goals. Now let's talk about how deep are you going to go, right? Okay, let's pause. Step out of this recording. Don't pause it. Just kind of mentally step out back into your classroom. You are in front of your students, big or little, and you're teaching them, okay? You are not going to take one 50-minute, 45-minute, 90-minute block, and you are not going to dump everything that they need to learn over the course of the year in that first block of time. They're not going to learn it. You're not teaching it. You're talking it, okay? But they're not going to learn it, and they're not going to be able to apply it. They're not going to keep it, absorb it, internalize it. The same concept goes for AI tools in your own learning. So let's take a step back into this recording, into navigating AI together. And I want you to think about, how deep do you need to go with your students? You scratch the surface and you build. You scratch the next surface and you build. And there's lots of practice, and there's lots of reteaching, and there's lots of exploration in all of that. you will do the same thing. You need to do the same thing for yourself and your own learning with AI. So when you choose a tool, try it. If it doesn't suit you, if it doesn't meet your needs, next one, next component, whatever, because that's fine. It doesn't work. There's so many that do the same things. You can bounce. It's fine. If there's one and they've got 2 or 3 different things that you want to try, then try different ones until you find the one that suits you. Try it, explore it, practice it, expect that it won't work. Try it a few more times. If it still doesn't work, then move on, and that's fine. But don't feel like you have to master everything before you use it with the students, because you don't. If you try something and it doesn't work, ask the kids, let them know that you are learning. It makes you human. It makes you identifiable. It will help you build a relationship with them. Try it, keep trying it. And when you feel confident and that you've mastered it, try the next thing, whether it's the next tool or the next part of the tool that you're using. Okay? So let's take a pause. You pause me, and I want you to think, what AI tools are you currently using or are you interested in using? And this sentence is awkwardly phrased. So just listen, don't read. What AI tools are you currently or interested? Yeah, that's awkward. Don't read that. Just pause me. And pause. Write it down. Think about it. And pause. I'm waiting. Okay, let's move on because I'm not really paused. All right. So what I'm going to do is I've got those 4 tools and we're going to go over them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get out of screen share and we're going to actually dive into the tool. So the first one we're going to talk about is Magic School AI. Love Magic School AI. I think it's fantastic. So easy to use. Then we're going to talk about quizzes. Quizzes has been one of my favorites for years. It gives you amazing quizzes that are really engaging. It's gamified quizzes, okay? And now they added this level of AI to it. And the reason that I put quizzes in here, Magic School AI is my productivity tool. Okay, so what can you ask Magic School AI to build for you so that you don't have to, so that your time and your brain space don't have to be used for that. It has to be used for editing, but editing and like cleaning it up so that it's exactly what you want is a whole lot less time consuming than starting from scratch. Quizzes is my data tool. Students take the quiz and then you get to see the results. And I was able to use it to sort of see who are my students that are struggling with certain concepts. And then based on the questions that they missed, I could narrow that in. And it's because the data that they give you is color coded and so easy to look at and resort that I could say, okay, this group needs to focus on this skill. These students, I need to, just kind of like keep going. These students, I need to accelerate them because they are way past where we are right now. Let's go ahead and reteach this to everybody. I could use that to drive my instruction. Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini, all great tools in as far as I want you to write this. I want this included. I want to share this. I want to build this. I want to make this, da, 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 da. Each of them does the same thing, but they all are slightly different. And I want you to see in here the difference. And so we're going to look at each of them. And then Mirror Talk AI is all about reflection, right? When we talk about student reflection, we ask students to reflect on their behavior choices. We ask students to reflect on their academic choices. We ask students to reflect on their learning. We ask students to reflect on what they enjoy and didn't enjoy. We ask students to reflect on how they're feeling about all of those things, right? Reflection is a major component in schools. But how hard is it to really take that reflection? First off, how hard is it to really teach students how to reflect? And then 2, how hard is it to actually take that genuine reflection from them and do something with it? Take it and really analyze it and wrap it up and rearrange it and put it back out there so that it helps them to grow. It's hard because I don't know about you, I never had 10 minutes a day to meet with my students, all of them. I didn't have that in a week. I could probably do a month. Okay. And so what Mirror Talk AI does is it asks the reflective questions so you don't have to think of them. And then it takes the genuine reflections that students give and it gives you the feedback to help you, just like quizzes, gives you the feedback to help you drive your instruction, drive your conversations, know where a student is mentally, emotionally, as a whole child. And how do you meet those needs? I'm really excited to show you that one too. So let's go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to dive into some of these tools. Okay, so we are in Magic School AI. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to jump over to Common Core State Standards, and I'm picking a 4th grade standard. Compare and contrast the point of view from which stories are narrated, including the difference between first and third narratives. So I'm just going to copy that because having a standard, whether or not you teach Common Core, having a standard is going to be super valuable when it comes to AI because you want your foundation for instruction is your standards. So using those standards in many of these is going to be really helpful when it comes to building your instruction. So let's go ahead and go back to Magic School. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go back up here. And I'm going to look at my standards unpacker, right? Because what I read, compare and contrast the point of view from which different stories are narrated, including the difference between first and third narratives. I understand that as a teacher. Do my 4th graders understand that? If I have to write that on the board or if I am trying to tell them that I'm teaching that? And the reality is within your standards, there are so many components, both from 4th grade and from 3rd grade and 2nd grade and 1st grade, or if you're, at a higher grade, you go back, right? So there's so many components built into a standard that we need to break them down and see what is it that the students missed in the past? What do they need in order to be successful in achieving and mastering this particular standard? So I'm going to go to Standards Unpacker. I did select my grade level. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paste it, right? I have the option to like verbalize that. I can upload a document with the standards. I just pasted it. So let's go ahead and generate it. And look at all of this. Okay. Oops. I've got key components. So I have skills, knowledge, and concept. I've got what should students learn. I've got learning targets that I can turn into, if they're not already, I can turn into student-friendly learning targets, right? So be able to identify the point of view in a given story. And there's 3. It's not just one standard. Remember, there's multiple components. So here's the multiple. Broke it down for you. It even gives you ideas on how to teach this standard, ideas on how to assess this standard. And then it summarizes the particular standard for you. So there's so much information right here. And is all of it 100% accurate according to what you need? Maybe not, but you can edit it. There's things that you can edit. You can just copy and paste it. You can read it aloud to you. And then you also have certain actions that you can do. So if I have a teaching partner that speaks Spanish and I want to make sure that I have an English and a Spanish copy, I can translate it. And so then I have the whole piece in Spanish too. And that's just one example, right? Remember how I said you don't have to dive super deep? There is so much more that I could do, but I'm not. I'm just going to take this. This is the surface that I have scratched. And now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start playing with this part. Okay. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to try another piece. I mean, look at all of this. Okay. I'm not going to get into all of that. What I am going to do is I'm going to build a choice board because I want my students to be practicing with that point of view. So again, I'm just going to go ahead. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let's see. Let's go back to my standard unpacker. I'm going to put the standard in there. But now what I want to do is I want a very specific choice board for this one, this particular learning target. And so then what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to put that learning target in, and I'm going to make an accommodation. Like I want an additional detail. So I want this to be built. Students will compare and contrast the effects of first person and third person perspectives on the story. So I want to build the choice board that focuses on, I could say that we have been learning about Venn diagrams. So I don't want it to focus on Venn diagrams, but I do want it to include Venn diagrams. So let's go ahead and generate that. And look at all these different assignments. And a Venn diagram is included in there. So I could say, oh, here's your choice board. This is the required one because this is what we've been doing. Okay. So that is Magic School AI. And again, you saw just how much there is here. YouTube video questions, text proofreader, translator, email of family, DOK questions, so much to dive into. Even teacher jokes. What classroom isn't complete without teacher jokes? So this is a great tool for productivity, and just so many other things that you can use. Data. So speaking about data, let's jump over to quizzes, since that is my data AI tool. So with quizzes, I love it because it really gamifies asking questions and getting students to just answer some of those basic questions or more advanced questions. That's fine. I used to like to use it as a review, just to sort of gauge where my students were. But I also think it has a lot of value as like a pre-assessment to kind of understand at the very beginning level, where are your students and how are they at understanding the concepts that we're getting ready to learn. So let's go ahead and create. Actually, I'm sorry. No, we're not going to create. We're going to go to Quizzes AI and look at all these options. But what I'm going to do is I want Quizzes to do the brain work. I don't have a worksheet or a video or anything like that. So we're going to go to there. And I want to select a standard. So RL 4.6. And here we go, 4th grade Common Core. Let's see, RL 4.6, point of view, done. You know what? I think I only want to ask about 5 questions because again, pre-assessment, my subject and my grade, and then my depth of knowledge, again, level 1, because this is a pre-assessment. Like I just want a very basic idea. Are we starting off with any memory from 3rd grade in as far as point of view, or is this something that they feel pretty comfortable and confident in, and so we can kind of go at a little more accelerated rate? So AI and quizzes are doing this work for me. 5 questions, great. I can regenerate with changes if I want to. I don't. I just want to go ahead and keep going. And then from here, I can sort of edit each individual one. I can get rid of them if I don't like it. I can add multiple points. And just, some of the other changes that quizzes has always had in as far as customizing the actual quiz part. And then I can go ahead and publish that. Okay. Then your students have taken the quiz. What you want to do is you want to go to reports and you want to take a look at how they did. And you can filter by correct answers, incorrect answers. You can take a look at if a certain group of students scored a certain amount, and then you can dive into just those individuals. All of that makes it so easy to understand where are your students accelerating, where are they meeting your needs or their standards, and then where do they need just that extra help and that extra support, and that allows you to really tailor your instruction for their learning. So now let's go ahead and go over to Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini. And so what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go back here and I'm going to copy and paste this standard. I'm going to go to Claude first. And I'm going to start a new chat. And I'm writing my newsletter to parents, and I want parents to understand that this is what we're talking about this week. And anything that they can do at home to kind of really hone in on point of view would be super helpful. So this is not my whole newsletter. So write a paragraph to parents that we are learning. Okay. And then enter. Let's see what they come up with. Okay, for me, that's too much. Like, I'm not even going to read that. My parents aren't going to read that. So I'm going to tell Claude shorter. And then just so that I have some alternatives, because I like to copy and paste and then kind of combine the two until I get what I want. I like to give myself multiple choices. So there we go. So our third option is, dear parents, our class will be studying narrative points of view and stories. We'll compare first person and third person narratives, exploring how these perspectives affect storytelling. This unit will enhance your child's reading comprehension and literary analysis skills. Not too bad, right? All right, so we're going to go back up here to the beginning of Claude because I am not going to remember that or type it all myself. So now I want ChatGPT to do it. So let's see what they come up with. So again, first try, I always say shorter. And then let's try again. Okay, ChatGPT's third one. Dear parents, this week we'll explore the differences between first person and third person narrative. Students will compare and contrast how each perspective influences the story and the reader's connection to the characters. We're excited to see what they discover. That's great. Very, very concise, very demure, right? And then we've got Gemini. Let's go back to the first one. And the nice thing is, you can do this in all three, takes no time at all. And then you pick and choose what works best for you. Because here's the thing, if you haven't noticed, between Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini, each one has a different tone. Which one sounds more like you? Which one sounds, and the thing is it will change based on what you're asking it to do. I have found in the past that Claude sounds more like my tone, but in this particular example, ChatGPT is more like what I would want it to say. Gemini, that's way too short. Here's the original. You can't get any shorter than that. So let's say a little more detailed. Okay, that's still more detailed than I would want, but that's okay. So that's where Gemini comes in. But you see 3 different tools that do the exact same thing. I asked them to do the exact same thing, and they all 3 come out with different tones, different perspective, different phrasing. And you can take literally all of it, I wouldn't take all of it, but you could take all of it, and you can copy and paste and pick what you want from all of them to make it exactly what you want. Okay. All right. The last one that I want to show you is Mirror Talk AI. And so, you know, I've already got it all set up. I've got my class set up, but what I want to do is I want to now set up a reflection. And so there are reflections that are already available to you. You just have to assign them to your students. I want to make one specifically though. So I'm going to do a new reflection. And I want the format can be prescribed. So, you know, these are exactly what it is, and I can edit that, or it can be personalized based on what I'm having my students work on and reflect on. Okay. And then my focus can really be on the 4 F's, which is very reflective based. It can be more about retrieval, depth of knowledge, which is more instruction, academic learning based, or it can be more about collaborative problem solving and creativity, which is more in the SEL bubble, right? So what do I want? I want genuine reflection, because just like quizzes, maybe I want to use this as a pre-assessment. Maybe I want to use this as a post-assessment. Like we took an assessment. How did you feel? What do you think you gained from learning this material? How can I improve? How can you improve? What is it about this material that you can kind of continue to learn about? Whatever the questions might be, I want, again, to get that reflection, that whole student. Do I want a next step question? No. I'm going to add an objective. I'm actually just going to add my standard, which if I had saved my objectives in Magic Tool AI, I could have used that, but that's okay. So I could record it. I could say, we're going to be learning about da 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 da, or I can write it, and that's fine too. And then you see how the prompts are updating as soon as I put the objective in. Okay, tell me about a story you read and how it was narrated. Okay, now if I change it to retrieval, notice that the prompts change. Tell me about the different points of view you learned about in the stories we read. I kind of like that. But you know what? I would like to see what they ask for problem solver, and see if maybe that would be more in line with what I want to know about my students. Tell me about a story you read and how it was told. I think I'm going to stick with the 4 F's: facts, findings, feelings, future. Not in that order. And then questions 2 and 3 are based on the responses of the student. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to assign that. I'm going to copy that link. Now you would copy that link and you'd put it in your LMS, whether it's Google Classroom or Canvas or anything like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop it right here. And in my class right there, I'm going to get started. There I am. Fist bump. I read a story and it was narrated, one as a narrator, like the narrator told the story, but the narrator and the main character kind of swapped. And I found that that was really just kind of a fun perspective, to have both a narrator and a first-person narrator. Okay, so now based on my feedback, Mirror Talk is kind of coming up with new questions. Well, I thought it was funny when they would kind of ask each other questions and disagree about how a story was told, how they remembered the events. Even though the narrator was the main character, but it was more like the main character's thoughts, as opposed to like the main character in their own self. Um, It reminded me of like you walking, like me walking down the street with a theme song, like the world is all about me, but I'm telling my own story. And I think it's really, it's really interesting because what we think versus what we do doesn't always line up. So you got, you've got my reflection in here. And then here's the feedback. Okay, so one thing that I really, really appreciate about Meritalk is this feedback is given to the student. And there's always a positive at the beginning. And then there's like an action, there's a feedback based on your reflection, and then a next step based on your learning. So there's always three components. And there's never anything that tells you that you did something wrong, or there's never a negative component. It's always based on growth and encouragement. Okay, so now I'm done, and I'm going to go back to the teacher's dashboard. And here are two different reflections, two different data. So I can see in this first reflection made by me, I was feeling, from a teacher perspective, Erin was feeling like really good about her reflection. I could tell that from my tone. Here is a little confused, and that could be tone, that could be how I was articulating things. So we're looking at the curriculum. So what did I indicate based on my understanding, my zone of proximal learning, and then my mindset, right? And all of that is kind of laid out for me here. So as a teacher, again, I don't necessarily have time to go and reflect with all of my students or hear their reflections and then have that to guide my instruction. But it's all right here. And it didn't take my students but maybe 2 minutes to reflect. So I think that this particular tool is incredibly powerful. Before I wrap up, I did want to show you Matt Miller's article that had, or blog post that had 40 AI tools for teachers, and here's all of them. But do you see, this is how he dives in. Microsoft Copilot gives a summary, how it works, the pricing, where you can go, and then any sort of webinars or informational resources that you can learn about it. All right, so you don't have to take the time to do the legwork. Matt Miller did it for you. And so I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And then again, I don't have to pause, but go ahead and I guess hit stop. But think about, what AI tool do you want to dive into first? Which one are you the most excited about, or which one do you think would be really the most beneficial for you and your students and your teaching and your mental health? So thank you again. Good luck this year. It's going to be great. You've got this.